most of the Western monks and Western practitioners believe that it's enough if you believe in that what the Buddha said. And that's exactly where the problem starts, because some of the things that the Buddha said can have several interpretations. So, yes, I believe all of the monks believe that they believe in that what the Buddha said. It's just that not everybody believes in the interpretations which were given by the Buddha's students. I believe that we should believe in all of the things that are written in the main scripture. And that means the suttas, the Vinaya, and the Abhidhamma. The different beliefs which are included in the Buddhist scriptures are sometimes not clear, and they really need more explanation. It's like a law, you know? A law of a country always needs an explanation, and that explanation needs an explanation, and that explanation needs an explanation, and there will always be somebody who will come and criticize it. And there will always be somebody who will find a loophole. So in the same way, it's very easy to get the Buddha's word without commentaries and just to make anything you want. You want to believe that there are no gods? Okay, so just remove the parts where the Buddha speaks about the gods and you just believe whatever you want. You want to believe that Abhidhamma is not the teachings of the Buddha? Okay, so you remove that scripture of Abhidhamma, you remove the commentaries which talk about Abhidhamma, and you're fine. But then you actually put yourself in the position of the Buddha or of those who wrote those scriptures, of those who wrote down those scriptures for the later generations. Abhidhamma has been written or was written as the Buddha's word. And there was a good reason for saying that Abhidhamma is the Buddha's word. Monks follow very strict rules. Altogether, it is over 90 billion rules. And one of those rules is that monks must never tell a lie. Why would monks tell a lie that the Buddha taught Abhidhamma if he didn't? Especially if those monks who decided about those scriptures were, we believe, ultimately enlightened. We believe that they were fully enlightened. And if they were fully enlightened, then according to the scriptures, again, according to the Buddha's word, it is absolutely impossible to tell a lie. There are 4 stages of enlightenment. And the first stage of enlightenment already means that you will never break the 5 precepts, that you will never tell a lie. In that case, it is not possible that there would be an untrue statement in the scriptures. If the monks who wrote the scriptures said that this was the Buddha's word, then they must have believed in that. And if those monks who said that were enlightened, then certainly they followed that word as the Buddha's word. And therefore, it certainly was not defective. It certainly was not a hindrance on their path, regardless whether it was truth or not. So there are many controversies. So could Abhidhamma be the Buddha's word or not? Or could this idea be the Buddha's word or not, you know? So one time the Buddha said that there is a great mountain. It's called Meru or Sineru. And that mountain is 84,000 yojanas high. Now let's say that 1 yojana is 10 kilometers, okay? So 840,000 kilometers high. It is also submerged, it is actually in water, and it is in the water, it is deep into the water. Another 840,000 kilometers. Can you imagine? 840,000 kilometers high, 840,000 kilometers deep, mountain on this planet. Not very imaginable, right? So, of course, then the Burmese scholars come, you know, those who didn't read the scriptures well, and they say, well, maybe it's the black hole, you know, or maybe it's some formation of planets in the history, or whatever you can think of. No, the Buddha, though not the Buddha, but later the great masters have explained that this world, which has this mountain as the center, has the sun at the east every day, and every night the sun is in the west. So then it's obvious that the mountain Meru or Sineru is in a world which has a sun and moon, you know, turning around. Because it's not just about sun, but the moon is also explained in these terms. So yes, the Buddha taught that the mountain Meru or Sineru is on this planet, is in this world. Now, I believe that some of these teachings which the Buddha teaches to the monks are not taught as a astrophysics. I don't think that the Buddha wanted to teach his monks astrophysics. And I would really like to take this seriously, you know. Why would the Buddha teach monks astrophysics? Why, you know, if he believed that this was true, then why would he need to do that? Why would the Buddha need to teach monks geology or geography or that kind of thing if he wanted the monks to attain enlightenment and get entirely freed from this world? There was absolutely no reason for the Buddha to teach astrophysics or geology. So from this standpoint, for me, it's clear. The Buddha taught only that, what would be acceptable. And then he would build on it with that, what would not be acceptable. So this is a technique, how to teach. So first the teacher knows what the audience believes. So the teacher knows that the audience believes that the world is flat. So if the teacher wants to teach something else that the people do not believe, it is good to start with something that the people already believe. Because when I start to say something that we already agree on, then we get on the same tune. And then when we get on the same tune, the audience is much more open to listen to that, what the teacher says. And I believe that this is exactly the reason why the Buddha would teach the then astrophysics and geology. He would just create a setting for teaching the supernatural. So the Buddha would first explain, okay, so there are 9 kinds of earthquake. And the first of them is the one that you already believe. That means that there is earth, and under the earth is water, and under the water is wind. And when the wind quakes, then the water quakes, and then the earth quakes. That's the one. And then the rest, the remaining 8, are those that you don't believe. But they are important on your path. For example, there is earthquake when the Buddha becomes a Buddha, on the day when the Buddha becomes a Buddha. Who would believe that? But if the Buddha starts saying something that you already believe, it's much easier to accept the other points. There is an earthquake when the Buddha becomes a Buddha. When the Buddha to be is born. When the Buddha passes away, there's an earthquake through psychic powers. And so on and so on. So there are different kinds of earthquakes, and it's very difficult to believe them. So in order to explain how powerful is virtue, how powerful is wisdom, how powerful is freedom from greed, hatred, and ignorance, the Buddha makes use of the belief that the people already hold. The same thing is with the mountain Meru or Sineru. When the Buddha explains the mountain Sineru, he doesn't just say, you know, monks, the mountain Meru is 840,000 kilometers high, and it is 840,000 kilometers deep. Isn't that fantastic? No, that's not how the Buddha teaches. The Buddha explains, monks, the mountain Meru is 840,000 kilometers high. It is 840,000 kilometers deep, and still it is impermanent. At one point, it is all destroyed. And with that, the Buddha takes first the point that the monks already believe. They already believe in such a huge mountain, so there is nothing new for this. But the Buddha then builds on it with Dhamma, with the teachings of the truth, with the teachings of the reality, how things are. So that the monks understand, aha, so maybe this body is impermanent, maybe this mind is impermanent, so maybe I should not be attached to it, maybe I should not need to be vexed about this body or mind, maybe I should let go and enjoy the present moment, observe the present moment, and be satisfied with the present moment. Because everything is impermanent, so whatever I try for, whatever I try to get as material, I will lose it anyway. So the Buddha this way is redirecting the students to the supernatural. He is redirecting them to the higher knowledge, to something that they don't know and that they would not believe otherwise. So I believe that all of the things that the Buddha ever taught need to be believed, because there is a good reason why the Buddha taught them. Although today we do not believe that the world is flat, so using it as a basis for the other truths is not very successful for us. I would like to take everything that the Buddha always taught and see if they help me in my practice toward the understanding of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not-self. I would like to see if there is any teaching in the Buddha's teachings which would help me to get free from all greed, hatred, and ignorance. All the levels. It doesn't mean that we are greedy, hating, or ignorant. It means that on a subtle level, all of us are greedy, hating, and ignorant. And subtle means, okay, it's hot. Wow, that's so bad, it's hot. That already is aversion, and it counts as hatred. As a technical term. These terms are technical terms, so they have a very deep meaning. So in this way, I would like to suggest that all the Buddha's teachings is well read and taken very seriously, and that we seriously study what would be the reason for the Buddha to teach those teachings. And if there is anything that could help me to understand how hankering after ephemeral possessions, how being angry with another person or with some situation or some unsuccess is really useless, then I would like to use that kind of teaching for my happiness and for my good. There's so much of such teaching. The commentaries then suggest how the Buddha could mean it in the detail so that everybody could understand. Even though sometimes commentarial explanation might not seem to be plausible, I would still suggest to study those commentaries and not reject them too fast. You know, many scholars and many people today, they don't even read what the Buddha taught, you know, in Abhidhamma and in commentaries, and just because a respected scholar said, you know, this is not the Buddha's word, they never read it. Why, you know? Why wouldn't you read it? You know, it's a historical document. It's a historical record. So why wouldn't you read it? This is how the monks believed it at the time when many thousands or tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of monks were entirely free from all greed, hatred, and ignorance. They all believed in these things, and they were able to attain the ultimate enlightenment, the full enlightenment, the ultimate freedom from all mental defilement, then perhaps those beliefs were not so bad. Right? So I believe that we really need to read everything, and we always need to check whether that what we read will help us in our practice. And if it doesn't help us, if it doesn't seem to help us in our practice, we put it aside, and maybe it will help us later.